Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. In a recent video, I went over how the assistant to chief legal counsel at NHTSA essentially destroyed right to repair. There has been a court case that's been going on for 2 years over a ballot initiative that passed in Massachusetts, requiring auto manufacturers to give both independent mechanics as well as the owner of the car access to the telematics system inside your car. If your car has a computer in it and you need to be able to speak to that computer in order to diagnose the car or fix the car, I personally believe, as the person who spent $30,000 in that car, that you should have access to it. You paid for it when you paid for the car. And in no world does it make sense that the only person who should have access to that is the dealership. This ballot initiative passed in a giant landslide. And unfortunately, in spite of the fact that this passed in a landslide and that a judge denied the automaker's request for an injunction in this case, assistant the chief legal counsel at NHTSA said, "Never mind, don't listen to this." As I say in this video, they sent a letter, and in spite of her never, over the course of this case for 2 years, ever speaking in court to the judge that actually requested their input, she sent a letter to the auto manufacturers explicitly asking them, do not comply with this law. And I think that it would be worth going over this particular article where a good friend of mine and colleague, Nathan Proctor, ripped them a new one. This says NHTSA has been asleep on self-driving fatalities, but had the time to help automakers derail Massachusetts' popular right to repair law. Nathan Proctor just laid down the law here and said, and I quote, "After doing basically nothing to stop manufacturers from beta testing with 2,000-pound machines driving through school zones every day, now NHTSA says it's too risky if I can look at the car data myself." Is it now the position of NHTSA that we need a benevolent monopoly on access to data transmitted from our cars, and now we should just trust them? Why is our government trying to regulate a monopoly into force? Mic drop. And the top comment here, if having access to telematic data allows a third party to remotely control a vehicle or some other security failure, that's still a security failure, even when the data isn't openly available. Security by obscurity is just theater here. And that is a good point. In this video I did a few months ago that pissed off a lot of Elon stans, I asked, why does Musk always lie? I go over the fact that on Tesla's website for many years, there was this video of a car driving itself, and it said that, the driver's only there for legal reasons. The car is completely able to drive himself, in spite of the fact that the car actually drove through a fence and was edited out of that video. There's a lot to go over when it comes to the things that NHTSA ignores while claiming that if you have access to the data and the computer inside of your vehicle, that your vehicle will get hacked and remotely controlled and will remotely accelerate CIA style right off a cliff. But don't worry, the dealer and the manufacturer having access to that exact same system is no security risk at all. How stupid do you think we are? And it is a really aggravating issue, especially when to this fucking day, you can go to Tesla.com, you can scroll down, and in big letters right here, $15,000 full self-driving capability. Again, you have a small text that says it's dependent on you actually paying attention and doesn't make the vehicle autonomous. Then why does it say this? Why are you allowed to advertise this for $15,000 when the video on your website promoting this had to be edited to remove the car self-driving itself into a fence? If NHTSA gave two shits of a fuck about safety, this would not be available for $15,000. At the very least, they would write a letter to Tesla and say, hey man, I know that you have that little disclaimer, but can you stop with the whole full self-driving shit? Can you call it something else? NHTSA doesn't care about your safety. They never did. And it's very obvious. When the assistant to the chief legal counsel at NHTSA worked at the same law firm that's been fighting for years against right to repair and representing auto manufacturers, exactly why this letter was written, and dare I say it, it has nothing to do with your safety. And it never did. And if this aggravates you, I highly suggest that you reach out to your local House representative, your local Senate representative, and let them know that this pisses you off, that an unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat should not stand between you and being able to have access to the data in your car. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. And props to Nathan Proctor for continuing to get crap right. I'm going to include a link to his Twitter down below because I think he's a genuinely awesome dude. Before I started this nonprofit and before I had money to actually do lobbying, one of the things that I noticed is in many of the states that I went to, many of the legislatures I went to, even when nobody else showed up, Nathan Proctor would be there. And when Nathan Proctor couldn't be there, he would often make sure that one of his colleagues could be there. So there was always somebody in the room to counter the bullshit from the manufacturers. He was there before there was money. He was there before there was really a concerted and concentrated team that was able to work on this. And I've been happy, humbled, and honored to use the money that we've raised from our nonprofits to help fund his efforts as well, because he was there when a lot of people really didn't care. He was there doing the grunt work, and he was there making sure that we were represented in every room where there was an opposition lobbyist. I think that matters. You should follow his Twitter. It's pretty good. I don't use Twitter. I think Twitter sucks. But if you're on Twitter, let's face it, unfortunately, a lot of you are, I would highly suggest giving him a follow. He has some good material, and he's always got something good to say back, whether it's a manufacturer coming up with some bullshit or somebody from our own government. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.